my family labeled me a disaster. I stood silent at Declan's summit gala. Then the UN ambassador stared at me and muttered, "Could it be?" The crowd froze, and a hidden truth began to unravel. The air in my Sydney office was thick with tension at 2:17 a.m. on that cursed June night, the hum of my laptop the only sound as I pored over the final details of the Global Climate Summit. 100 meticulously crafted files, $150,000. 0 cents of my own money sunk into a dream I thought would unite my family. My phone buzzed violently on the desk, a notification slicing through the silence, and I froze. A leaked audio file shared by an anonymous source crackled to life when I pressed play. "She's out." My brother Declan's voice sneered, cold and calculated. Harper's uninvited. Her presence would undermine the UN delegates. Make sure she finishes the prep, then cut her off. The recording ended with laughter, his UN contacts joining in, and my world shattered. My hands trembled as I replayed it, each word a dagger. My parents' silence in the background, their complicity a silent nod. I stumbled back, knocking over a chair, my breath hitching as tears blurred the screen. $150,000, 0 cents. Venue deposits, a world-class research team, an eco-mu for 500 VIPs, and they'd tossed me aside like a used contract, expecting me to polish their golden boy's moment. I sank to the floor, the cool hardwood grounding me as the weight of betrayal crushed my chest. I'm Harper Ellison, 35. The mind behind Ellison Sustainable Strategies, advising world leaders on climate policy from this sun-soaked city. But in that moment, I wasn't the expert who'd negotiated with prime ministers or won international awards. I was the forgotten daughter, the one who'd poured her soul into a summit only to be erased. The recording wasn't just a slap. It was a public execution, shared across encrypted channels, likely to hit the press by morning. I could already see the headlines: Ellison scandal, family turns on climate hero. My stomach churned. Who leaked it? Was it a rival, a disgruntled colleague, or someone closer? Declan himself, covering his tracks? Growing up in Melbourne, the Ellison name was a beacon. Real estate empires, charity galas, a legacy etched in sandstone. Declan, 6 years my junior, was the golden son, basking in our parents' adoration. At 10, my birthday was a modest backyard barbecue, grilled sausages, a lopsided cake from the local bakery, while Declan's third was a circus extravaganza, complete with acrobats and a news crew capturing his grin for the society pages. "He's the future of the family," my mother, Margaret, would say, her eyes soft as she ruffled his hair. I'd nod, swallowing the lump in my throat, learning early that my role was to support, not shine. When Declan crashed the family yacht at 16, drunk with friends, my father, Thomas, blamed me for not supervising. "You're the older sister, Harper," he'd barked, his face red. "What were you doing?" I'd been studying for my 4 GPA, leading the environmental club, but that didn't matter. Declan's creative spirit excused his chaos, while my achievements were expected, unremarkable. The real wound came at 18, when I earned a full scholarship to Cambridge, a ticket to a global stage. Weeks before departure, a family scandal, Dad's shady land deal exposed, left us scrambling. "We need you to step up, Harper," Mum said, her voice tight. Declan's school fees are due. I handed over my savings, my dreams deferred, and watched him thrive at an elite boarding school, his every misstep cushioned by their wealth. I worked 5 jobs: barista, tutor, research assistant, building Ellison Sustainable Strategies while self-funding a degree at the University of Queensland. Declan, meanwhile, coasted through Oxford, switching from business to art to finance, his whims indulged with parental cash. He borrowed $40,000, 0 cents, from me for a Porsche, laughing off repayment as family support. I let it slide, hoping to bridge the gap. but the debt grew like a shadow between us. Family gatherings were a stage for Declan's tales, his Oxford parties, his UN internship, while my global awards, like the 2023 Green Policy Prize, earned polite nods. "That's nice, dear," Mum would say, already turning to Declan's latest exploit. When he announced his UN Climate Summit role at a lavish Sydney gala, the room buzzed with pride. I forced a smile, clapping as he basked in the spotlight, but inside I felt the familiar sting of being sidelined. Days later, Mum and Dad cornered me at their Toorak mansion. "You'll fund and advise the summit, won't you, Harper?" Dad said, his tone leaving no room for no. "It's your sibling duty." I hesitated, the cost looming, but their expectant stares, Declan's included, pushed me to agree. "A 20% discount," I negotiated, thinking it a compromise. They nodded, already planning his triumph. The first danger struck a week later. Scouting a rainforest venue near Cairns, the tree bridge I stood on groaned, then snapped. I lunged, shoving a colleague clear as we plummeted 20 feet, my legs snapping under me. Pain seared through me, but I directed the rescue, my adrenaline masking the fracture. Back in Sydney, I funded 80% of the summit, $60,000 0 cents up front, securing the Great Barrier Reef Conference Center with a $50,000 0 cents deposit. I hired a world-class climate team for $40,000 0 cents and crafted a gourmet eco-mune for $60,000 0 cents, tailored to Declan's VIP list. But the goodwill faded. During a late-night meeting with vendors, my car's fuel line failed, flames licking the engine as I swerved off the Pacific Highway. Mechanics confirmed tampering. "Deliberate, not wear," they said. My heart raced. Was this a warning? I poured myself into the work, creating 100 files, AI climate models, live global data streams, and designing a virtual platform with real-time translation for 50 countries. Early planning felt like a breakthrough. Declan praised me during a site visit, his hand on my shoulder. "You're the brains, Harps," he said, and I believed we were mending. But his UN contacts, led by Ambassador Claire Henshaw, changed him. At a briefing, Claire's charming local effort comment about my work stung, her smile sharp. Declan echoed her, rejecting my sustainable decor for a European firm, adding $30,000 0 cents to my burden. I paid, telling myself it was for the cause, but the rift widened. The third peril came at a coastal lab. Testing water samples, the research tank flooded, the door jamming. Water rose to my chin, my screams muffled as I pounded the glass. A technician broke through just as I gasped my last breath, my lungs burning. Mechanical failure, they claimed, but the timing? Days after I questioned Declan's budget, felt too precise. He then demoted me from co-chair, appointing a corporate ally, and insisted on $2,000 0 cents delegate gifts. "Don't be stingy, Harps," he said, his tone mocking. I funded it, my savings hemorrhaging, but the humiliation peaked at a pre-summit party. Overhearing Declan call me overbearing to colleagues, labeling my work hippie nonsense, I froze, the laughter echoing in my ears. At a family dinner, Mum and Dad toasted Declan's UN rise, ignoring my $150,000 0 cents plus investment. "He's carrying the Ellison name forward," Dad said, sipping wine. I left early, tears streaming in my car, the betrayal a physical ache. The next crisis hit when the original venue canceled, bought out by a rival firm, leaving Declan furious. I leveraged my network to secure the Sydney Opera House, adding $25,000 0 cents in rush fees, but he dismissed it as too flashy. I hosted a $15,000 0 cents eco-gala, only for Claire to claim credit, Declan nodding along. The final straw came when my office was firebombed, 60 files reduced to ash. The fire marshal found accelerant traces, and I knew this was no accident. The exclusion hit via Instagram, Declan's Fiji tour posts, no mention of me. Then the recording leaked, confirming my uninvitation to avoid embarrassment. My family expected me to finish the summit, their audacity staggering. That night, a panic attack landed me in hospital, monitors beeping as Mia, my best friend, held my hand. "This is emotional sabotage," she said, her voice fierce. My $200,000 0 cents investment had drained my business, but an attorney freed me from obligation. I compiled evidence, receipts, contracts, the recording, and sent a scathing text. "Fund your own summit, leeches." I deleted all 100 files after backing them up, blocked them, and ensured vendors were paid, shifting billing to Declan. On summit day, I hiked the Blue Mountains, camera in hand, capturing the dawn. Uncle Peter and Zoe boycotted the event, their support a lifeline. Therapy helped me unpack the rejection, and I reinvented my consultancy, launching a carbon needle model that gained traction. A book deal followed, my story inspiring activists. Declan's summit flopped, his UN role teetering. 2 years later, my parents called, suggesting a family talk at Great Dem section to meet publicly, demanding accountability. Questions lingered. Who tampered with my car? Was the tank flood deliberate? Did Declan order the bombing? What secrets hide in those files? Their outreach might be genuine, but my worth now stands beyond their approval. A strength forged in betrayal. The Blue Mountains stretched before me, a vast canvas of eucalyptus and mist, as I stood at the cliff's edge on that crisp June morning, my camera trembling in my hands. It was 6:32 a.m. on June 29, 2025, the day of Declan's summit, and I was 200 kilometers from Sydney, far from the chaos I'd unleashed with my defiant text, "Fund your own summit, leeches," and the deletion of those 100 files. The air smelled of freedom, but my mind churned with the weight of betrayal. $200,000, 0 cents gone, my office a charred ruin, and a series of near-fatal incidents that screamed sabotage. Who wanted me silenced? The tampered car, the flooding tank, the crashing drone, the office bomb? Each a thread in a web I couldn't yet unravel. I snapped a photo, the shutter clicking like a heartbeat, but the piece was fleeting. A rustle behind me snapped me alert. A shadow darted into the trees. My pulse raced. Was I being watched? The days after my break from the family had been a storm of retaliation. 2 nights ago, I returned to my Darlinghurst apartment to find the door ajar, the lock shattered. Inside my safe was pried open, the backup hard drive with those deleted files gone, and a blood-red envelope lay on my table. Inside, a single photo of me at the rainforest site, a knife stabbed through my face, the blade still warm. I called Marcus my private investigator, a grizzled ex-cop with a nose for danger. "This ain't a warning, Harper," he growled, bagging the evidence. "It's a hit. Someone's desperate." He found faint prints, but they were smudged, intentional. My gut twisted. Declan? Claire? A corporate rival? The uncertainty fueled my resolve. The threat escalated that night. As I drove to meet Marcus in a seedy King's Cross bar, a black van tailed me, its headlights piercing the fog. I weaved through back streets, my breath shallow, but it rammed my rear bumper, forcing me onto a deserted wharf. I floored it, tires screeching, and lost them at a red light, heart pounding. Marcus met me, his face grim. "They're upping the game. Check your card, Daly." I installed a dash cam. The $3,000 0 cents cost a bitter pill, but survival trumped pride. Sleep evaded me, the knife photo haunting my dreams. Was this about the summit, or something darker tied to my climate work? My business teetered on collapse. The $200,000 0 cents loss forced me to cancel contracts with a Norwegian energy firm and a U.S. senator, my team reeling. "We can't sustain this, Harper," said Liam, my lead analyst, his voice cracking. "You're bleeding us dry for them." He was right. I'd sacrifice stability to prove my worth. I convened an emergency meeting, laying bare the financial hit, the sabotage, the family betrayal. To my shock, they rallied. "We're in this with you," said Aisha, my tech specialist. "Let's pivot." They proposed a carbon needle consultancy, a risky but innovative shift. Their loyalty was a lifeline, but it underscored the family I'd never had. A breakthrough came from Uncle Peter, a reclusive environmentalist. "I boycotted Declan's farce," he said over a crackling call from Tasmania. "Heard Claire Henshaw at a UN mixer bragging about neutralizing a liability before the summit. Sounded like you." My blood ran cold. Claire, with her UN clout, had the means to orchestrate this. But why? To protect Declan's image or hide a bigger secret? I dug deeper, meeting my therapist, Dr. Elena Voss, who linked my drive to familial rejection. "They fear your independence," she said. "This sabotage might be their way to control you." Her words sparked a fire, but also dread. Was I a target in a larger game? The pressure mounted when a tabloid splashed "Ellison Betrayal, Summit Saboteur" across its front page, pinning the venue collapse and file loss on me. Trolls flooded my inbox with threats. "You'll pay for this." One traced to a burner phone in Geneva, Claire's base. I handed it to Marcus, who found ties to a disgraced UN contractor I'd exposed years ago. "He's got motive," Marcus said, "and Claire's got the cash." The public shaming stung, but it steeled me. I wasn't the villain. They were. The sixth danger struck at a client symposium in Brisbane. A masked figure hacked the power grid, plunging the room into darkness. Amid the panic, a hand grabbed my throat, hissing, "Stop digging, or you're dead." Security tackled him, but he vanished, leaving a burner with a text, "Last warning." Marcus confirmed it was bought in Zurich UN territory. I was shaken, but the threat sharpened my focus. I launched the Carbon Needle Consultancy, and its first webinar, held in a virtual rainforest, drew 500 attendees, their applause a balm. Yet as I logged off, a figure lingered outside my window. Declan's aide, Tara. Was she spying? The question gnawed at me. A seventh peril came when my home Wi-Fi was hacked, a virus locking my devices with a message, "Delete the evidence, or we delete you." My tech team, led by Aisha, neutralized it, recovering a buried email from Declan to Claire. "Keep Harper out. Her files could expose us." My pulse hammered. Expose what? Financial fraud? Climate data manipulation? I gave it to Marcus, who promised deeper probes but warned, "This is high stakes, Harper. They'll fight dirty." The eighth crisis hit during a live TV interview. A doctored clip aired, showing me admitting to Summit sabotage. The studio erupted, and I was cut off, my reputation torched. Mia, watching from the wings, stormed the set, demanding a retraction. The network apologized, but the damage lingered. I sued, hiring a forensic accountant who found a shell company linked to Claire's UN fund with transactions matching my payments. Was I a pawn in a money laundering scheme? The stakes soared. The ninth pressure point was a subpoena from a UN inquiry into the summit's flop, demanding my files. I complied with legal copies, but the timing days after the hack felt orchestrated. Declan's decline hit the news, his UN role under investigation for bribery. My parents' silence broke with a call at 10:45 a.m. today. "We need to talk, Harper," Dad said, his voice strained. "Things have escalated." I agreed to meet at Bondi Beach Pavilion, public and neutral, demanding truth. The emotional climax came that night with Mia. "I gave them everything," I sobbed, "and they made me a pariah." She hugged me tight. "You're the hero they couldn't control." I posted a cryptic tweet, a photo of the knife-pierced picture captioned, "Truth will outlast lies." Responses poured in, activists, clients, strangers, some hinting at Claire's shady deals. A whistleblower DM'd, "Check the UN's carbon offset fund." It was a lead, but the subpoena loomed. The turning point arrived at the Bondi meeting. Mum and Dad looked aged, Dad's hands trembling. "We didn't know it'd go this far," Mum whispered. Claire pressured Declan and we followed. Dad added, "We're sorry, Harper, your work, it's remarkable." It wasn't full atonement, but it cracked their facade. I set boundaries, respect my path or lose me. They nodded, tentative, as Mia recorded it for evidence. The finale bloomed at my consultancy's launch party, held virtually across 20 cities. My book, Green Resilience, hit bestseller lists, its TED Talk going viral, arrest warrants issued, while my network grew, including a Nobel laureate who praised my vision. As I spoke, a message pinged. Marcus found proof. Claire's fund laundered millions, my files the key. Justice was near, but my worth shone beyond it, a legacy of courage inspiring a global fight against underestimation.